we're going to start by introducing our panelists. So I'm going to ask each of our panelists, well, first of all, let's look here. Do I have you in the right order? Last time I reversed Google with Foursquare and it was a little funny, but awesome. So Daquana, do you want to introduce yourself first? I'm going to ask each person to just introduce themselves and their company, and we'll just kick it off that way. Thank you.
My name is Mark Turner. I'm the technical recruiter for Logicworks. Thanks for coming out. We've been in business for 23 years. We're a cloud services provider, also other tech services and IT services provider, partnered with AWS.
So one of the things that I've been asking for a definition for at the start of each of our panels, for each one of the meetups that we've done, is to define what a junior developer is. How many candidates in the room or developers in the room would consider themselves a junior developer? Raise your hand, nice and proud. It's all good. I haven't written a line of code in 20-something years, so I will raise my hand. Excellent. So I'm going to ask our panelists for their definition of a junior developer. And the reason why is one of the disconnects that we see is a job post that says junior developer, and when you read it, they want a master's degree and 15 years of experience. Has anyone seen that issue? Raise your hand. Okay. So I think as an industry, that's probably something we can work on. So I think it's great to start with some definitions. So Ryan, if you'd like to start, give us your definition of what a junior developer might be, and the number of years of experience might be a good way to start it. We're going to go right down the panel.
It depends on the skill set. I remember years ago when Android and mobile apps development was new. So if you got somebody with a year experience with that, they weren't considered junior because they'd only been out a year. I think it also depends on who you work for and the type of company you work for. I've seen people with a year of experience that have worked for, fast-growing startup that's really up on new technology, and in this 1 year that they've worked for this company, they've got probably 3 years experience if they had worked at a larger company where they didn't get their hands involved in a lot of that stuff. So I like to look at where you've worked at. I've seen people work at large companies where they've worked kind of like this, for 3 years. They could be a junior developer as far as I'm concerned because they've been, just so tunnel vision in what they've done. So it depends on where they've worked at, what they've done, what they've gotten their hands dirty with. Like I said, it could be a year, but that person could be, I consider, more than a junior, or it could be a person with 3 years, and might consider them junior. So I hate to be kind of vague with the HR, it depends, cop out, but it really does.
One of the things that has been coming up more and more at our panels, and it was really interesting a few months back to hear Google's perspective on this, is Bootcamps. So how many of our attendees are currently enrolled or have graduated a Dev Bootcamp? Raise your hand. So what is that? Mark, what do you think? 15, 20% of the room, something like that? Great. So I'd love to get everyone's feedback on kind of what's happening with boot camps today, and do you consider those candidates? Yes or no, and maybe why?
I like boot camp. We've hired some boot camp folks at my previous companies. I'm kind of biased to folks who decided to do a career change because they really had a passion for it. So they may have an undergraduate degree in something else, and then went to boot camp because they really had a desire and passion for it. I like boot camp graduates who not only learned in school, but did their own thing, have their own websites, do some of the things that Steve was talking about that are great. I like to look for the passion. I think if I see that, and again, if they've done some internships, and we hired one intern, we hired a person who had done internships for an entry-level job, entry-level role, who kicked butt and went into and just was like amazing. Was probably better than a lot of 3-4 year folks.
So I'd love to learn a little bit more about your process. If you could talk a little bit about, the number of interviews. Is there, an on-site, technical interview? Again, when we're thinking about hiring, let's, be specific for like junior to intermediate developers. I think would be great for the room. So talk to us about your process. Is there a coding challenge? Where in the process does the coding challenge occur? I think it'd be very helpful to learn how each of your companies manage that.
My process, and I'm one of the, I guess, old school. I do read a resume. I was just telling somebody earlier today. I read a resume like I read a newspaper when I'm going past a newsstand. I look at the headline. Man kills wife. Oh, let me stop and read that. So and then the second paragraph. She was messing around with somebody. Oh, great, and read a little more. So that's how I read. That's how I read resumes. I like to.
Please don't take him seriously.
No, don't take me seriously. Don't put that on your resume, please. I look at a resume I like to see the headline. I like to see what's up at the top. To Steve's point, I like to see right up front. 3 to 5 years experience in yada yada yada. Boom boom boom. Oh, I like that. That's what I'm looking for. Then I'll read it a little more. So then I will. ATS systems, and Steve was really right on when he was talking about ATS systems. They'll do what they do, but look, a good recruiter is going to look at that resume, top, and I'm one of the folks that likes. I don't mind more than a 1-page resume. 2 pages is fine. Sometimes 3 is okay. A little more than that, okay. But I like to look
Must
down.
Must be some headline if you're going to read all 3 pages.
Yeah, right there.
Java developer scales empire state building.
I've gone down to. And I like looking at the hobbies. Things like that really matter. You see what people concerned about, like with their maybe with volunteer work. And I was just telling somebody today, don't be afraid to put your volunteer work on your resume. I built a website for my church. I built a website for my community center. Did that. We love to see that. It also shows, like you said, Ryan, more passion for what you do. So real quickly, once I see your resume and call that person, I'll do the initial conversation. I'm old school. I like good communication skills. I like clear speaking voices on the phone, whether it's accent or not. I don't care as long as you good communication skills. Tell me about what you did. If that works out well, then they'll bring them in for the technical interviews. We used to do the coding tests. My last company that I was with, one of my coworkers is here. We actually got rid of it, which I think is actually good. We do live code sharing, and then when they come in, person sits down 3 hours. It's a long time, but we try to limit it to that one time. So get plenty of rest when you go in for that one day. Sometimes some companies call it a power day or whatever it is. Get plenty of rest and put your best foot forward. And then we'll make a decision after that. But coding tests, I understand, and I'm not a coder, but I understand that there are some shortcuts to some of the coding tests. I've heard that some of them get out, and so anybody can pass it. I don't know if that's true or not, but I don't kind of trust that. So
what's your thought on sort of so the second panelists who've talked a little bit more about kind of these live code shares or code pairing? Are you seeing that as a trend that some of your other colleagues are looking into? Do you think that our candidates in the room should prepare for more of that in the future?
For more of the live?
Or more of the live.
I think they should prepare for more of the live. Yeah, I think companies, at least, and stop me if I'm wrong, are kind of getting away from that sending out the coding test first before they see a candidate, which I think is not fair.
I'd love to hear a success story. So if you could talk about maybe a recent process that landed into a successful hire, and if you could talk a little bit about where that person was either sourced from or where that initial introduction came from, and what made it a great experience not only for the candidate but also for your team too.
As a recruiter, and I know just listening to your story, nothing is better for us as recruiters than to hire someone who's become successful in the company, and you can kind of look back and go, I hired that person, right? That's a great feeling. There's been a lot of success. I've been doing this for 26 years. But the one I think about, the most recent, very difficult to fill role with a company that I was working at 2 years ago. We were looking for we're actually looking for a program manager. The company was going through some changes. We almost doubling the size of the company. In the midst of looking for a program director, our product director resigned. So we now had 2 roles. So reached out on LinkedIn. Every now and then LinkedIn does work. Reached out to a person who happened to be a female candidate, diverse candidate in Seattle, who was working for a pretty large company in Seattle. You can probably guess who it might be. And they said, she would never leave that company to come to work for you. It's in Seattle. This is New York. She'll never come. Well, sometimes luck has a lot to do with it too. This person happened to be going through a divorce and was kind of like ready for her next move, and came in and was able to actually take take both roles on. She was so senior, had done both program management, product management, had come up, had something like 15 years experience, just amazing. And it took about 2 or 3 months to get it done, but the relocation for her to decide, salary negotiation, just everything else. But it turned out great. She came and took over both roles, was able to help build both program and product management, and kind of look back and go, yeah, I hired her, type of thing. So those are always great.
Red flags. What's a great tip or a fun story that's happened to you that you can share that people can avoid? Is there something that they shouldn't say, shouldn't do? Again, thinking about this junior to intermediate developer role, what throws up a red flag that says I need to get this person out of my office, and how did they make it in here this far past all of my screening? So we won't say what happened, it failed on the call. So let's say they got through the screening call or two, they actually made into the office, and something happened that you wondered why and how they actually made it through.
So many, but I'll just tell.
We'll do one because we're gonna continue. So yeah, we'll do one each.
Yeah, this is a quick one. Years ago, I was working for American Express when we were at the World Financial Center. We shared a reception area with. At that time, it was Shearson. Gosh, I'm giving away my age. And so the reception area. So I had to went out to the reception area. You go to the reception area and you'd ask. You tell the person's name. There'd be a bunch of folks that then you say the person's name, and they say, "Oh, that's me. Come with me. Let's go interview." So Deborah. So I'm thinking that's Deborah. So I go out to the reception area and I say, "Deborah, whatever the last name was, Deborah." No movement. There was a few young ladies out there. One was just kind of looking straight ahead, no eye contact. I said, "Deborah, Williamson, whatever the last name was." Nothing. So finally, I walked over to this young lady. I said, "Excuse me, are you Deborah?" And she turns to me and says, "It's Deborah." Yo, I said,
I have people skills.
Attitude. It's Deborah. And so
can't screen for that one either.
I just, and I'm a nice guy. I'm cool. I say, "Deborah, sorry," and I interviewed her for like all of 5 minutes, and boom, she was gone. So funny stuff. I have Deborah, not Deborah. Sorry.